Unspoken Issues.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unspoken Issues podcast. We are celebrating Valentine's Day right here with one of my favorite couples, Dean Compton, Emily Scott. Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show.
Do you know any other couples?
One other couple, and that's me and my wife.
Right. I feel like we're the king and queen of the dork prom on the network on Unspoken Issues. We're the ones everybody's aspiring to be. She's gonna be on the Real Housewives of McDonald Land soon or some shit.
Me just throwing a glass of wine in Grimace's face. I can't believe you did that at our white party.
Officer Big Mac being like, yeah, we got to come out here a few times a week.
Oh, man, that's great. Well, hey, yeah, we're celebrating Valentine's Day. I don't think there's too many of these Valentine specials out there.
No, there's not really a ton of Valentine's Day specials in superhero comics history. If you expand, obviously there's romance comics, there's other things where it pops up. There's a Punisher, My Bloody Valentine special in the early 2000s. But yeah, this is the only Marvel Valentine special that I can find. I don't think I saw any DC ones. There are a few individual issues that are about Valentine's Day, but the season is upon us. Some of us have sweeties, some of us don't. If you don't, I guess it's Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Say hi to a friend if you don't have any friends. I don't know. We're your friends now, so buy me a present.
My daughter
you can't buy us both a present because we're a couple. You can't get. We each get
a present.
Got it.
Don't. There's a price.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You spend enough money, we can just settle for one thing.
I still kind of want my own. I don't know.
All right.
My daughter is getting ready to celebrate a Galentine's party, which is a new one for me. So apparently that's a thing too. Palentine's, Galentine's.
The Parks and Rec thing. She started celebrating it on February 13th.
Okay, well maybe that's
for her
what
lady
it is.
friends, and that's kind of caught on.
Yeah,
that's got to be what it is then.
Keep up with 2010 sitcoms, Jesse.
I've watched all of Parks and Rec, and I completely forgot about that. I do know all about Treat Yourself. So how about that?
Yeah, I know about that. Every day's Treat Yourself Day around here.
Beat me to it.
All right, well, so, okay, Marvel Valentine Special #1 drops February 12th, 1997, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. This contains, I think, 5 stories, 48 pages long. So each, of course, this is very similar to this holiday special that we talked about, where we've got different stories kind of going in theme with the holiday, different writers, different artists, different characters. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hop into this thing, unless you guys have something you want to cover real quick before I do.
It's very interesting to me that this got put out at all. This is 97 Marvel. This is around the time of the bankruptcy. They're not really greenlighting a lot of new projects. They never did one before. They ain't done one since. I'd love to get a hold of some of the editors here and ask them about who pitched this, how did it come about. It's a nice package for the price point, but it comes out at a very interesting time.
Yeah.
Maybe they were like, the ladies aren't reading enough comics. How do we get the ladies? Ladies love the romance of the Valentine.
Oh, that's right.
It could be as simple as that like the pitch worked because it was the ideal was that we need a comic book to pitch to women who we'd like to get more of that market share. And that kind of pitch is the kind of pitch that works if you're in bankruptcy. Think about companies that have made big fucking comebacks. They usually take a big chance when they're in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So if this got approved, it's probably for a reason you're saying, let's go get some ladies. Because what do you, otherwise, like, let's publish a 15th Spider-Man book. Well, we've got a lot of Spider-Man books, Doug.
Also why they promptly followed it up with their Easter special to bring in the Christians and their St. Patrick's Day special to bring in the Irish.
All the Irish.
Well, they didn't do either of those things.
What? Then what did I read?
Well,
there is actually a story in here. I know we're going to get to it here in a few, but I had a very, very big, and I don't read too much romance comics. You know me and my Cyberforce.
Yeah.
Not too much romance happening in that.
Don't cut my nuts out from under me.
Don't worry.
I'm making jokes. You jumped on that one. There's now what am I supposed to do? You just took one of my things.
Oh, well, my bad.
Bring up the guy with the knife in Madison Square Garden. Go.
Look at him. He doesn't know what to do now. He's done for the day.
I'm not,
All right.
I might bring all these things up twice now.
Now I have editing shit all over my hands. It's going to be bad. No, listen, there's a story in here that really threw me back to romance comics. So I think you're right. But what other spot could one of these stories fall into? And we'll talk about that here in a few moments. But just to kind of support what you're saying, there are absolutely some vibes that I get that are, hey, romance comics, folks. It was the thing. So let's talk about our first comic. Spider-Man's definitely a thing.
Yeah, and arguably a romance comic.
You could argue that.
Like we've talked about that Spider-Man, when Steve Ditko leaves and John Romita Sr. comes in and takes over, he was known for drawing slick, pretty ladies over at DC. All of a sudden, Peter Parker's a lot more handsome. Gwen Stacy's there. Mary Jane's there. They're wearing the go-go boots, and all of a sudden, everything's real pretty, and Peter Parker has big-time soap opera problems.
Our first story, it is a Spider-Man story called My Fair Spidey. And this is written by a creator that I don't know much about. Tom Robert, is it Payer?
Tom Payer?
Tom Payer.
Man, dude rules. He did some New Gods. He did the Hour Man. Have you heard of Ahoy Comics? They're going now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the editor-in-chief. Nice guy. Talked to him a few times on Facebook. Big-time DC editor later. He wrote the Hour Man series, the Android one that spun out of JLA and DC 1 Million around, started in 99 and goes until, I want to say 2001, 2002.
Okay. Yeah, if Al Sedano's listening to me, I apologize, sir. I understand he is quite a
He's
writer.
prolific.
Yeah, he wrote Legion and Rebels, Rebels, over in DC. He was writing that.
We'll just call those Legion and Rebels. Those are acronyms.
I spell them.
Acronyms.
I spelled them out.
Yeah, I actually read all of Legion last year and Rebels, and I really liked it. And his stuff on it was some of my favorite.
Yeah, I brought up Al Sedano. He does a podcast. He's part of a podcast strictly that focused on Legion, and then, of course, moved on to Rebels.
Rebels 94.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, again, this is a DC writer that
no clue what any of this shit is.
I'm just sitting here singing songs from My Fair Lady in my
Legion was a way to kind of do Legion of Superheroes in the future contemporarily, but what was weird is it started in 89, so they called it Legion 89. Then it was Legion 90. As the years changed, this changed.
Yeah, the title kept changing.
Legion 90.
Yeah, Legion 90, exactly.
You gotta spell it out. You gotta say it.
You don't, well, yeah, Legion 90.
90. There you go. Right. Emily, you said you were singing songs from My Fair Lady. Now, I'm an uncultured swine sitting over here, so I need you to tell me about, that's a play, isn't it? Or is it a movie?
So My Fair Lady is a movie based on a play called Pygmalion.
Okay.
And the premise of it, we see sort of acted out by Peter Parker in this, where he's going to go find some schlub and
make him up. I got
so someone will love him.
Audrey Hepburn played this role in the movie.
But she plays this straight edge. She talks like this.
Yeah.
He's going to make a lady out of her.
And she is fantastic and charming.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think she knew how not to be.
Yeah. Arguably still the greatest actress of all time.
Hear any argument from me? Penciled by...
Got some hot takes.
That's because you don't even know who she is, Jesse.
Audrey Hepburn? I know who Audrey Hepburn is. How many movies have I watched with Audrey Hepburn in it? None.
Okay. Here's the thing. Do you think she could play Ballistic in a Cyberforce?
Okay. All right. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
All right.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Ballistics at Tiffany's.
Ballistic at Tiffany's, yeah.
That's perfect.
Say yes to the dress.
Or else.
Right, exactly. See, I knew you'd join in.
That's great. Penciled by Mark Buckingham.
And I think he did the cover, too.
Okay. Inked by Kev F. Sutherland, lettered by James R. Novak, and colored by Mark Bernardo. So, yeah, I had a feeling that the title of My Fair Spidey kind of tied in the plot as well. So here is the plot synopsis of this story. 10 pages. On a special Valentine's evening, Peter Parker and Mary Jane share a dinner together, engaging in some conversation. During their time together, Peter recounts a recent experience where, just happened that day, I believe, where he assisted a young man named Roland in attempting to impress a girl named Theo, I think was her name, whom he desired to move beyond friendship with. Peter describes how he guided Roland in updating his wardrobe and shedding some of his nerdy traits in an effort to appear cooler. However, Mary Jane becomes upset, explaining that her love for Peter stems from his genuine self, not any facade of coolness. Realizing his error, Peter takes Mary Jane across town to rectify the situation. Just as the transformed Roland attempts to impress Theo, Peter intervenes by using his web-spinning abilities to trip him up, undoing all the efforts made to change Roland's appearance. Theo, in turn, is relieved to see the authentic Roland underneath, realizing that genuine connection trumps superficial impressions. So there you go. That is our plot of My Fair Spidey.
It's just sort of the loose premise of I'm going to give this person a makeover, and so then someone will like them. My Fair Lady's got more. There's a whole bet thing going on that he bets some other highfalutin friend of his he can make her into a lady and then present her at some party.
Isn't She's All That also?
I was going to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of versions of the same. So it's a very common trope in romance things. And one of the things I like is this sort of parallel between Mary Jane or MJ and Peter Parker and Theo and Roland. Oh, yeah. Where they're coming down the steps of the library when Peter Parker first sees them, and she's calling him Wildcat. So apparently if you're a super hot lady with a crush on a nerdy guy, you have to give him a big cat nickname.
Yeah.
Tiger, Wildcat, I get it.
Right.
For sure.
Panther.
Is that you suggesting one I should give to
Cheetah. No, none of this works. No, you could call me Fat Cat Slim. That's what you call me.
That actually sounds really cool.
I know. That's why I want you to call me that.
You apparently
Fat Cat
have
Slim.
the same elocution lessons that Roland had in this comic that Peter Parker gave him.
No, I'm cool on my fucking own, and I was always cooler than Peter Parker. And even when I was super uncool and had a Wolverine watch when I was in 9th grade that popped open, that was obviously for a 6th grader, obviously not for someone who was 14. I was like, I'm wearing this. This is great.
Okay, first of all, that watch sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Second of all, I like how MJ takes every opportunity to remind Peter Parker of what a catch she is.
Yeah.
Just to let him know, in case he forgot since yesterday. Hey, Tiger, you got yourself a catch.
That's right.
I forget the exact famous quote of hers, but
face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
The jackpot.
Yeah.
I also like that they have Valentine's Day dinner and it's a giant platter of burgers.
Hell yeah.
Did you notice where they have a giant platter of burgers?
I was thinking, I had the Baconator on my mind, the new pretzel Baconator at Wendy's.
You just always have the Baconator.
I could eat like 3
of those. We are not
a
sponsored
day.
by Wendy's, by the way.
I am.
This is free endorsement.
No,
of the
they gave me a Baconator.
Didn't you say you had 2 at one point? You had 2 Baconators in a day?
Yeah, the other day.
Oh my gosh. You got to hit your apparently
and
you're going to
and I had 10 McNuggets or 10 not McNuggets. There's no mix. Sorry, Wendy. Sorry, Dave Thomas.
There goes our Wendy's endorsement.
Right. I resigned. I have to write a thing. It's like, dear Wendy's patrons, it is with a heavy heart that I must let you know that I accidentally referred to our crispy nuggets, which are much better than McNuggets, as McNuggets, and so I will be leaving my post as Wendy's rep.
This is a low-key kind of Valentine's celebration here that they sort of have, just hanging out in the bedroom, sitting on the floor.
I think they're broke at this point. Mary Jane is going back to college, and Peter's also going back to college, and he's a high school teacher, so they have like $13.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes sense.
So many burgers.
That is a lot of burgers.
Because it was 1996 and like burgers were like $1 at McDonald's.
Yes,
my God, you're absolutely right. I forgot.
So even in New York City, if you had $13-15, you could get 9 or 10 burgers from McDonald's. Like, no big deal. Maybe a couple more.
Those were the days.
Right. When you can get a hamburger for a fair price to eat with your supermodel girlfriend on the floor after you tied her up and had some spiderweb bondage sex with her.
Learned MJ is kinky. We probably already do that. I don't know.
There's no way. I don't want to get too graphic here or whatever, but because this is a code approved book, so we'll try and keep this code approved other when I say fuck. which I say it a lot, but otherwise we'll try and keep it there. But listen, if you're Spider-Man, you're wasting your time if you're not kinky. You can stick to the ceiling, you're quadruple jointed. I don't want to go into too much detail, but yeah, she better be, because Peter Parker certainly is.
He's agile.
7 feet tall, not playing basketball. You're wasting it. It's wasted on you.
Right. You fucking idiot. Hey, you got bit by that radioactive spider and you're almost about to die, but do you fuck?
Shit. Well,
Jesse cracked that time. Jesse, a lot of times, he tries not to crack, but I got him there. It was like Apollo Creed had just punched him in the gut. He had no choice but to go down, unless you're the guy who killed Apollo Creed. R.I.P. Apollo Creed.
Oh, R.I.P.
This actually brought the Wendy's endorsement back. They like that so much.
They did?
The intern who runs their Twitter account that's always getting snarky with people. We love that. So they're back. Back, everybody.
Get your pretzel baconator now for a limited time only.
That's right, damn it. Yes, they definitely did it, because clearly they're clothed and then they're in robes shortly thereafter eating dinner. So right. You could put 2 and 2 together, it took me a few actually until I got towards the end. I didn't catch what they were wearing.
Do they not have sex ed in Ohio?
No. I knew what was happening here. I had a feeling that, but I was surprised to see them oh crap, they're in robes. Oh, you gotta.
Yeah, the comics code was getting a little loosey-goosey toward the end of the 90s. It's not going to live that much longer. Right. I think it's done by 03? I can't say for sure, but Marvel backs out around 2001, I'm pretty sure. 2001, and then it's a matter of it going away, because one of the weird things is Todd McFarlane complained about this because he wanted to stab Juggernaut in the eye. Yeah. And he was like, okay, well, what's the code? And Marvel's, well, we sort of make up the code. All right, well, what is the code? Can you show me the code? Well, we hire the code people. Well, what is it? And that's the thing, since Marvel and DC and Archie were bankrolling it, once one of them pulled out, it's just a matter of time, because what are we paying for if we're just going to censor ourselves? And this is toward the end. Also, at this point, the code was useless. Things would get more useful soon, where you'd have this is a Marvel Max comic, or it's rated M, or this one's teen, kind of what they do now. What does it mean for the comics code when there's implied bondage? Right. This is okay for everyone. I'm not even saying it's not, but I'm saying that you need to divvy it up further than that, they've done now, and the rating system did then.
I was watching Animaniacs at the same time, and some of the things they were getting away with.
Oh yeah,
you can have some implied bondage. It's going right over most of their heads.
Well,
this weird heart-shaped. I don't know. Was it a bed? It almost looked like a heart-shaped bed made out of spider
web. It was
a
heart-shaped box, as made popular by the grunge band Nirvana.
That's
from their album In Utero.
Correct.
Get an Eddie Vedder reference in there.
There is an Eddie Vedder reference.
Oh yeah, that's right. Can I just say my 2 big comments about this are, number one, when Mary Jane walks in, she's like, oh yeah, Queens is so quiet. I wish I was still in Manhattan. Queens, New York City, notoriously for being utterly silent at what appears to be 7:22 p.m. That's weird. And then also, Peter's, I'm going to make this kid cool. I don't know about cool. But then he turns him into Andrew Dice Clay?
Right.
This is 1997. Had Andrew Dice Clay been relevant in 6 years?
I feel sorry for
7 years? We did Ford Fairlane flop. 89, 90? What the fuck is this?
Yeah. And poor
Why didn't he make him into George Burns or fucking, oh man, here, put on these bell bottoms and call yourself a sweat hog. You're going to love this shit. What the fuck's wrong with you, Peter Parker?
Yeah, Peter Parker was not doing so good. He even for 97 was, you're still this guy. I mean,
we're almost a decade away from the height of Andrew Dice Clay.
But let's not forget that culture moves slower then. An album will come out, and then 3 years later, one of your friends oh, cool. I first heard Nirvana after Kurt Cobain died.
I get it.
I don't know. I'll give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt with that one, except with Andrew Dice Clay, it had been so long that, yeah,
I'm just looking at the leather jacket, and he says he helped him out with his lingo, and I'm like, no, you didn't. You did not help him out with his lingo. He walks in as he walks into the library, like he's.
It does appear to be the library.
Yes, it does. He walks in and he's just a complete disregard of silence in the library. Walks up to
with
her.
The librarian, always a plus.
That's such a weird thing about this trope, too. It's like, oh, I'm going to give the nerdy guy a makeover. And then he goes from can barely speak to a woman to hitting on every woman inside. That jacket is magic, bro. Peter Parker should have kept his magic jacket.
He don't need it no more. He's got Mary Jane.
It's just too powerful an item. They just can't be handing out magic items.
Yeah, you need to earn your way.
You're a GM, you get that.
I do, but I'm just saying that Peter had decided this kid was worth it. That's a choice only Peter can make, and it was the wrong one.
Yeah, but as you like to say, I'll steal a phrase of yours for a second. If Peter Parker knew shit from apple butter about romance, then he would have recognized that this lady was already into this guy, and he didn't have to do a goddamn thing. He could have gone home and had kinky, heart-shaped web sex with his supermodel wife.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah, I agree with you. Also, let's point out that Mysterio probably killed somebody on this night, right? Peter Parker's like, oh, I got to go stop this androgenized clay that I created. And let's mask up Mary Jane, by the way.
Yeah.
So nobody knows who this supermodel who was on a soap opera
That was just her idea. That wasn't even part of her
identity. It was just kink stuff, right? It was just part of the whole thing. Part of the whole thing. She's like, this will be on my face for an hour. I like it.
She's all for it.
So Mysterio's probably killing someone. The Green Goblin is torturing Gwen Stacy's clone as this is happening. He's got to use his web fluid to stop Andrew Mice Clay from himself.
I just had a not comics code approved thought about him putting that webbing on her face.
Stop it!
And I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
we're done.
I know.
Don't say another word. Code approved.
I don't want to ruin Spider-Man for everyone forever.
Too late. Code approved.
Yes, poor Roland. And it is funny that everything is undone.
What a fucking terrible name. This guy had nothing going for him. Making Bob Dole jokes.
I forgot about that.
Clearing his throat all the time. His name's Roland. Jesus Christ. Why is anybody talking to this guy?
Well, he landed somebody. It's not, okay. Clearly the message is be yourself.
That is the message, yeah.
That is the message. Be yourself and love somebody for who they are. Right. So there you go. Let's take a look at what we got coming up next. This next one's pretty serious. It's time to get serious with Daredevil with Love Hurts. Written by...
pretty serious one.
Yeah. John Ostrander, penciled by Mary Mitchell, inked by Christopher Ivey, lettered by Kenny Lopez, and colored by Joe Andriani. So Daredevil perched atop a building until the sound of a woman's scream grabs his attention. Swinging into action, he discovers a girl named Angel being threatened by her boyfriend, Jerry. Daredevil intervenes, swiftly dealing with Jerry, who leaves as Angel calls out for him to return. Seeking an explanation, Daredevil learns from Angel that Jerry's actions stem from intense jealousy and that she believes he doesn't mean it when he slaps her. Back at home, Matt confides in Karen Page, puzzled by Angel's reaction. Feeling the need to reason with Jerry, Matt resolves to find him. Karen, meanwhile, reaches out via her radio show to offer support to Angel, emphasizing the importance of self-love and the unacceptability of abuse. As Angel confronts Jerry in front of his friends, the situation escalates when Jerry pulls out a gun. Daredevil swoops in, saving Angel from harm. Addressing Jerry, Daredevil empathizes with his fear while condemning his abusive behavior. There's a stint in there where Daredevil essentially believes that Jerry is afraid of, acting a certain way in front of his friends, I guess is the way I took it.
Jerry is a victim of the socialization of toxic masculinity.
That's fair. That's definitely.
She's the victim here. But that's what he's concerned about. This is toxic masculinity turns men into, it turns boys into little boys like Jerry because he's young and hopefully he'll come back. Yeah. But it's toxic masculinity. That's why he acts this way. He's concerned with saving face in a weird way he doesn't have to. And he's concerned with losing control of a situation and controlling a woman instead of loving her and wanting to work with a partner. That's what you should want instead of wanting to dominate one and who they talk to and what they do. It's toxic masculinity.
I agree. Clearly there's a lot of, I don't want to call it peer pressure but there's elements of that because they're like, hey, you gonna let that girl talk to you like that? All of that is there to kind of take a confused person and make them think that they have to act a certain way to be accepted. And Jerry thinks that in order to be accepted by my buddies, I need to slap my girl around or make her pay for how she's wronged me in some way. Emily, you got any thoughts on that?
I was genuinely surprised to read this story. I wasn't expecting, after the very goofy Spider-Man more, I was like, wow, this is a really poignant, well-written, serious. These are really good messages that both young men and young women need to hear. And I guess it is a little later in the 90s, so it's not super shocking, but even just to see them talking about this idea of fragile masculinity was something I don't necessarily remember reading a ton about in things like this at the time. And I just thought it was really, really well done.
I remember hearing about it because I was like a young man who was very into right-wing stuff and libertarian politics. And I remember being like, fragile masculinity? You just mean weakness. And we didn't call things woke then. And it was all this stuff. It was like we're trying
PC, it's too PC.
PC would come up. Yeah. But it was something that I would hear when I would listen to Rush Limbaugh and that kind of thing about how liberals were trying to make men weak. And it wasn't true then, and it's not true now. It's more just like, hey, express your emotions healthily so you don't abuse people and or yourself. And I think it's an incredible strategy. John Ostrander's really good. I think he wrote this very well to portray this in a very real way, a very heavy issue without being too heavy-handed. Daredevil has to act a little stupider than he should. Emily was talking to me about that. And also later on, 2 kids hold Daredevil down. Daredevil's a mega ninja. What's going on here? But yeah, Daredevil does come across a little dumb, right, Emily?
Just that he's so flabbergasted by the idea that this woman would go back to her boyfriend after seeing him do these things to her. He demands an explanation from her. Hey, right. I came to save your ungrateful ass. And now you're just going back to this guy who what's that? And then he goes home to his girlfriend who has been abused. And from the sounds of it, he knows the details of all of this.
Literally sold his secret identity for a hit of heroin at one point. Was bought and sold as basically like a forced porn star, if memory serves.
All that having been said, though, it certainly is not uncommon in real life for many men to hear all sorts of details about their wife or girlfriend getting abused, but then still make these same comments about other women and look down on other women who aren't, quote, strong enough to leave or that kind of thing. I don't know why she put up with it, so those kind of attitudes don't necessarily go away because the woman you are with was abused.
Right.
So I don't know if that was their intention. Maybe I was just giving them a bit of the benefit of the doubt there, but
I think it's definitely
not an uncommon phenomenon in real life.
I think it's definitely a way also, of course, a way for us to get an explanation as to what happened. Daredevil he definitely knew all the details of Karen's past, and most likely, if this was a real situation, he would have kind of understood exactly what was going on, especially as a lawyer as well. He worked at a homeless shelter for a long time. He worked with a low-cost health clinic. They were in the He actually wrote stories on Daredevil dealing with similar stuff. So, yeah, Daredevil just kind of has to do this. If there's any complaint about this story, it's that there's no way that Daredevil is this den.
Well, you were right, though, when you said a second ago, it gives them a chance to tell us, the reader, what Karen went through. It serves an expositional purpose. So the words here from Daredevil, I'll read these real quick. And I think this actually stood out to me, and this is going to support what we've already been saying. But Daredevil swings in as Jerry's got the gun, and he's got it pointed at Angel, and he says, "Look, Jerry, I don't think you're a bad kid, but you've gotten hold of a bad idea."
Yeah.
That's great writing right there, to be honest, the way that's phrased, because it's a situation of telling somebody, hey, yeah, you are not thinking correctly here. And there's hope that you can come back from this.
And it's also the implication. Abuse is a really weird thing in that people are like, how could somebody stay? How could they put up with this? Well, usually abuse doesn't start for a while. As a general rule, nobody's like, oh, well, we started dating on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, someone committed domestic violence. People get dehumanized over time, and and all of a sudden, they're agreeing to things and allowing themselves to be in situations that they wouldn't have just a couple years ago because nobody's mentally and physically breaking them down. But when it does get to a point, it'll start to escalate very quickly and frighteningly exponentially. He goes from just slapping her in broad daylight to he's going to shoot her. And he's like, oh, I didn't know what I wanted. Well, it doesn't matter what you actually wanted or what, like, you think. Like, oh, this is what'll happen. Once you bring a loaded gun into the situation, you've created a variable that is really, really hardcore. A lot of things can go very wrong at this point. And it doesn't take much once someone is physically abusing someone to go from I don't want to say mere physical abuse, but just physical abuse to deadly force. And this really showed it in a way that is frighteningly real. And I think this is a good time also at the end of this story. They plug the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So everybody out there who needs some help, we're talking, it's 800-799-7233. You can text START to 88788. They got English, Spanish, and a bunch of other languages. And if you're suffering and you don't know where to start, this is a great place to start because this story gets across abuse is not love. And if you are being abused, you have the right to seek out help. And 800-799-7233. 800-799-SAFE. Text START to 88788, and you can start your journey to rebuild yourself piece by piece and get to safety there. And because, again, it just doesn't matter once somebody's on this ladder. It really only ends really badly, or the other person. Listen, they get help, it ends really badly, or the person leaves and it ends really badly.
I think the line that you quoted, this idea that people can come back from this, because I think sometimes when people have been this aggressive and hurt people that they've loved, there might be a mindset of, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, but that there is forgiveness for you, that you can have a life after this. But I think for young people especially, is an important thing to hear, that you don't have to lean into it just because you've already started to go down this path. There is a path back.
Yeah.
And also when Karen Page, or I'm sorry, what's her radio name? Page Angel.
On WFSK, you'll never guess who owns it.
I want to know what their call sign little jingle is.
It's a terrific day on WFSK.
Oh.
That's canon now. It's Marvel canon now, everybody. It should be. When she says the thing about it's better to be alone than to be with somebody who's abusing you, I think that is one of the things that keeps a lot of people in bad situations. There's obviously a lot of others. The most overlooked one probably being the financial one, where people get into financial situations where they can't get out of these situations. Oh, yeah. So they make justifications for the abuse because they kind of have no choice but to stay, so they have to rationalize it to themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if you are able to get away, then it is always better to be alone than with someone who is treating this. It doesn't matter how alone it will just always be better. And I think that's something that I think we talk so much more about healthy relationship modeling and what abuse is way more now than we would have heard like when we were kids. And you can't take for granted, though, that some people still don't know these things and they need someone to tell them for the first time. Right. And for a lot of people, this might have been their first time is reading this comic.
Exactly.
Is reading some of these ideas.
I'll kind of just real quick share a personal story. My mom was in a pretty abusive relationship with a guy after she had divorced my dad. I often think of the courage that it took for her to take me become a single mom again. But I think a lot of what happened after her and my dad split, she was looking for someone to be with. And again, just like you said, financial help, a roof over your head, all those things can make you stay in a situation that you shouldn't be in. And it took a lot of courage for my mom to get out of that relationship and take me and get out of there. I remember shortly thereafter, we were staying at my grandpa's until she get her own place. But it does take a lot of courage to be somebody that's on the receiving end of the abuse in order to make a change sometimes. So absolutely, Dean.
I think another about that too is just people on the other end who might find themselves as aggressors or as abusers. Hopefully young men especially who are just learning who they are and what kind of man they're going to be. This is a nice one to read where it's like, hey, you need to watch what you're doing and you need to watch who you're around and you need to watch how you're and this is for all abusers, but I think for anybody who has potential to be abusive, but especially for young men, this escalated very quickly and it didn't have to. You could have backed off very easily at different times. But I think it also reinforces, if you're a young person reading this, hey, you have to, because this is about young people in love and they're still learning how to love and be loved. And it's like, hey, you really mess something up by just one really wrong choice. All right, I'm ready to move on to the next one here if you guys are. Be careful.
All right, now let's talk about a god using a hard drive.
The floppy disk of the gods. Oh, geez. Dean, you've got to talk to me about Venus before we get into this.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Do you know much about Venus? I assume she's clearly been in Marvel Comics at some point.
Yeah, she had a comic in the 50s, which was a very, very, and it is about, she is the goddess Venus. And it's a wild fucking comic because it has weird sci-fi in it, some fantasy, a little bit of romance. Later on, it is a horror comic where she's the host, like the Crypt Keeper or Destiny from DC Comics, Cain and Abel as well. So it really runs the gamut, and they're actually just reprinted Fantagraphics, just reprinted the second part of her comics last year. And I'm trying to get them, and then there's a part 1 I need to get. The trade dress won't look the same, but I'll have to get over it because I really want to read these wild fucking comics. She's the Roman goddess Venus, yeah?
The goddess of love.
You want me to come class the show up again? First I gotta tell you about Pygmalion, now I tell you about the Roman.
No, I just want to make sure because I every now and then I'll get Venus and Aphrodite confused, but Aphrodite's the Greek one. Also in this they talk about how Hercules is happening. But anyhow, to get back to, I'm sorry, do your joke.
I was just going to make a joke about how the Trojan War started because she got jealous because she didn't win a golden apple in a contest.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
I thought Helen of Troy was the reason for the Trojan War.
Well, so there's really 2 wars happening. There's like the actual war.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the Olympus shit.
There's an Olympus,
that's right. That's right.
Like,
I forgot about that. And they're betting on the war and stuff and have more agents and stuff. And then that's how Athena winds up with Odysseus and stuff later.
Athena gets the apple instead of Aphrodite, and so Aphrodite's real jealous.
Right. I remember that now. You're right. So
anyway, she uses a floppy disk to set up.
It's the same floppy
disk.
It's the same floppy disk that Jeff Goldblum later uses to interface with the Martians with his Apple computer. But at the time, Marvel Comics was known as Atlas. And later on, someone got the idea to put together a lot of the heroes of that era. The superheroes weren't super popular in the 50s, but they put together Venus and Namora and Gorilla Man and 3D Man and Marble Boy and M11, the human robot. And they called them the Agents of Atlas, which is a very clever thing because Jimmy Woo led them, and he first appeared in the 50s Atlas stuff too. And so Venus has been a Marvel character since then. She is the goddess of love, and she appears every so often. I think she's been much more active this century than she was, say, between like 1956 or so and this issue. She probably didn't appear a ton between them, a few times.
That's because she sat around for 40 years pining around after this guy
Whitney
who runs
Hammond.
the agency in this comic.
And that's the other thing that goes on here in this comic is Chili Store, Hetty, and was it Marcy and Cindy and Mr. Hanover and Whitney Hammond. They're all characters either for Whitney Hammond is in Venus. He runs Beauty Magazine. He's always like, I want to get Venus from my magazine because she's real pretty, you know what I mean? Like,
But then she's too busy using her floppy disk to blow up the alien spaceship. And then Bill Pullman comes out and says, "This is our Valentine's Day."
Well done. Well done.
Yes.
But Chili Storm first appeared in Millie the Model. Most of them appeared in the teen humor comics that Timely and later Atlas would appear in the 40s and 50s. Really neat to see them all come together. I bet you didn't know they were all real characters, did you, Jesse?
I had this feeling that this is the comic, this was the story I was talking about. This is the story that made me go, oh, this is absolutely a throwback to the romance comics, because every single one of these probably had some kind of history. Our penciler, is it our penciler or our writer?
Dan DeCarlo?
Yeah, Dan DeCarlo.
Dan DeCarlo is one of the most famous, if not the most famous, Archie artists of all time.
Right. And you can tell.
Big time teen humor, romance guy. And so, yeah, this is definitely a love letter to the 50s era romance stuff that Marvel did, and also a little nudge to the Archie teen humor stuff.
I also assumed reading it that there might have been little references or Easter eggs for people who are more familiar with romance comics that I wasn't necessarily picking up on. It felt like there might be an extra level it could have been enjoyed on.
Right.
If someone was really familiar with the tropes of those comics.
I just pulled up Frank Strom just to take a look and see what he has under his belt. And it looks like there's a lot of, you talked about the humor. It fits right in because he's got Animaniacs under his belt from the late 90s.
Did he write Looney Tunes or something?
Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
In the 2000s.
Yeah.
You need an Animaniacs reference counter for this episode. That's two.
Right. That's number two.
If you make too many of them, they'll show up and sing a goddamn song about it. So be careful. Because once they're here, they ain't leaving.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls, Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes. So,
that's a resume right there.
Right.
See, at the time they really were trying to get a younger audience. They did the Looney Tunes comic for a long time. And later on, the Cartoon Network stuff, they did them for a while. I think 50 or 60 issues of them. They really wanted to find a way to get comic books into kids' hands. And the way it was for me, you read the Archie stuff, you read the stuff in the papers, you read some of the Looney Tunes when it came around, and then you would graduate to the superhero stuff, and then you'd buy shit forever once they got you there.
Those were my comic books. I just had a personal epiphany.
Oh, say it.
Because for somebody as nerdy a kid as I was, I just wasn't exposed to a lot of comics. I certainly had a few comic books here and there, but it wasn't something I was super into. But I would go and get those big books of comic strips from the newspaper that they print out, like the Calvin and Hobbes ones, the Far Side ones.
Right. Garfield.
I get everything from the library. I did actually read some of those. I get what's the Beetle Bailey and
Beetle Bailey.
Snuffy Smith.
And those were I'm just not realizing those were my comic books.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely sequential art. It's slightly different, especially because you gotta do this. Somehow you gotta have something going every fucking day that catches people up, but also moves the story along. Yeah. And you have 4 panels to do it. It's a wildly restrictive art form, but when done well, like a Calvin and Hobbes, or the Far Side, or for better or for worse, man, it can really, really deliver.
Gary Larson only needed 1 panel most of the time.
That's right.
Talk about a challenge.
I got plenty of those sitting upstairs.
Yeah, well, wait till you see Krabby Road.
Krabby Road? The hell?
Krabby Road.
Well, obviously Emily gets that.
You would instantly recognize it. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about either the last time he brought it up, which wasn't that long ago.
It's like this one panel joke thing. Basically, this lady's old.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's it. That's the joke again.
She was on a lot of calendars and coffee mugs and that kind of thing.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. She's always got her bathrobe on. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When I was a kid, there weren't kids or what the fuck ever. Old people just dumb fucking jokes. Sometimes they're genuinely funny, but usually it's just like, do cars need brakes? We used to just grab something. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
In my head canon, she's Kathy's cooler aunt or grandma or somebody. Kathy's kind of your boring friend, and then you meet her cool grandma, and you're like, I'm gonna go hang out with her at this party.
Ack.
Yes, exactly. Kathy goes ack.
Happy goes Ack. I just real quick, last word on Frank Strom here for me. This is his launching pad into funny books, as a matter of fact. There's 3 other books, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, that he did before this, which are Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Ninja Rangers number 3, then Ninja Rangers VR Troopers number 4, number 5, and then Marvel Valentine Special, and then from there on out, it's like Cartoon Network Presents, Animaniacs, Looney Tunes. So this is actually interesting. I'm aside from possible errors being on Mike's Amazing World of Comics, which is possible, this is his first writing a funny book, and that's pretty interesting here. We're actually covering some really nascent work for him.
The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers aren't too far off, though. They are a kid's property. You have to take certain care of them. They're a licensed property, too, which he's going to be very involved with later. So it's an interesting thing because they're neither fish nor fowl. Because, yeah, they're not quite a kid's funny book, but they are for kids, and there's more action, but they still have to make jokes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's he definitely cut his teeth on a tough thing to do when everybody was fucking looking too, because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers stayed hot until at least, I don't know, 96.
Well, okay. Title of the story, Atom Age Amore. As Venus reminisces about her past love, Whitney Hammond, in Olympus, Joya interrupts with news of a large saucer heading towards Earth. Venus springs into action. Meanwhile, on Earth, Mr. Hanover is striving to launch his online dating service. His employees, a bevy of beautiful women, are amazed when an application arrives from an exceptionally eligible bachelor. Now, I think the story calls her Chili 7. You were calling her Chili Storm?
It's Chili Storm. I don't know why I called her Chili 7.
Okay, all right.
We had the same conversation before. I was like, whose name is Chili 7?
Right. It's a strange one. So
and she's appeared recently in some books. Like, I think she was in Squirrel Girl and stuff recently. And she is canonically a lesbian now.
Oh, okay.
Because she can't get no man.
Oh, well, she's tried.
Christ.
She's a supermodel, and all of her friends are like, that's because you can't get a man. I'm pretty sure this smoking hot model could get a guy if she really wanted to.
So she just hadn't figured it out yet. Later, she would figure it out. I'm with you. No, I'm here.
The implication seems to be that because she is such a witch, as they might say.
She's a heel. Or she's heel-ish.
Yeah, because men never date mean hot ladies.
Ever.
Everyone knows that. Never. Oh, the bitchy hot girl sitting at home dateless.
Yep, all the time. Chili, one of the employees, defies company policy and pursues said eligible bachelor. However, Venus intervenes, warning Chili against her plan, citing the potential extinction of humanity. Ignoring Venus's advice, Chili responds to the application, triggering the arrival of an alien named Goom from the saucer. Goom declares his intention to claim Chili and others as his brides to propagate and conquer the world. As if we didn't get too out of bounds when it came to sexual preferences. Now the aliens are here.
Well,
they got to do what they got to do. Venus.
We're doing Trump versus Biden this year. How much worse could that be?
Venus confronts Goom, but when he insists on her as his first mate, a surprising ally emerges. Whitney Hammond, a grade Whitney Hammond, who challenges Goom. Venus calms the situation and provides Chili with the floppy disk of the gods to summon a suitable mate for Goom. A new partner materializes, stunning Goom, who retreats with his new mate, albeit not willingly, to explore the universe. They hop in the UFO or the saucer, and off they go. Afterward, Venus and Whitney embrace, reaffirming their enduring love despite the passage of time. Venus invites Whitney to return with her to Olympus, closing the chapter with their enduring bond. Dean Compton, what'd you think of this story, buddy?
I loved it.
Did you like it?
I absolutely fucking loved it. It's just fun. It's just
that's all. Yeah.
Everything about it. I read a lot of Archie comics growing up, and since I knew a little bit that these characters were all connected to the Marvel universe, Chili is really the model's number one rival who knows Patsy Walker, who becomes Hellcat. So those are neat little Easter eggs for you. It ends really sweetly with Whitney Hammond getting to go to Olympus. It was It's just nice. The art is top notch. Dan DeCarlo, who's only gonna, I think he passes away in like 2001.
Yeah, this
is one of his last jobs, and it still looks tremendous. Terry Austin doing the inks, though, arguably the best inker of all time. He's one of those guys. For me, he's right up there with Klaus Janson and Tom Palmer. Just amazing work here. So I just think it's just you just laugh the whole time. It's silly. The whole thing is like, what are they even doing in this office? The great joke about did he lie on his application? I think a guy like this could afford a bed. It's just wildly funny. I mean, it's fun to see this kind of story in this book in this kind of book at this time. And I think it's just what the doctor ordered. You really need to go kind of lighthearted after the heavy stuff. Let's go the complete opposite direction now, so we can get people feeling good again. I do think it's important that the Valentine Special showed a lot of aspects of love, some of the more negative ones. One of my favorite songs is the Mountain Goats' Love, 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 which is all about people who do terrible things for love. There's a line in it, it's like Sonny Liston rubs some Tiger Balm into his glove. Some things you do for money, some you do for love, love, love. So you get to see some of that shit, but then it's also time to show up with the goddess of love, doing love stuff, in an office full of people doing whatever fucking job to keep this dating service going. And then in the end, she goes back to the Olympus with her boyfriend. Who could ask for more?
So
can I just say that Mr. Hanover is like, I'm broke. I don't have any money. This bro owns an internet company in 1997. He's rich as hell.
He's about to be, if not already. Come on, man.
This is right around the time when parents are telling their kids they got to go into computers.
Right.
That's the future.
Right.
Exactly.
This is a literal thing, people. You got to get into the computers.
It's like, have you heard about the floppy disk of the gods? You better learn how to work that.
Also, but though the more things change, the more they stay the same. Though my parents met through a personal ad back in like the early 60s.
Oh, really?
Or no, yes, mid 60s. I don't know how people are.
The personals, yeah.
They're like a newspaper or something, some kind of...
Yeah, like I used to read those back in the day when you would get them, and it would always be, Star Child, the woods have returned. Never listen. Never listen to the abyss again. Your friend, Pathfinder. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
The fuck is this?
Yeah. Goom is a character, too. I swear I've heard of Goom.
I didn't look him up. I should have, but I'm
gonna look him up just to make sure.
Probably.
I might be.
It wouldn't surprise me. That's a very 50s monster sounded name.
I just assumed he was because, again, I just assumed lots of this stuff was references to other comics.
I recognized Chili and Hetty's name, and that's why I was able to look up the other ladies.
Tales of Suspense number 15.
Okay, yeah, so that'd be like a 50s monster comic.
March of 61.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Goom is a fictional extraterrestrial created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Dick Ayers.
Okay, so Jack Kirby.
Yep, Jack Kirby. Yeah.
Can we just say that they missed the licensing potential, though, in the little Gooms? The one who's, like, smart, the ones who, like, fighting each other. You could sell those.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're adorable.
Absolutely.
They already did the Gremlins, though.
Right.
Emily, what'd you think here?
I thought it was just super fun. A lot of things you guys have already talked about. It looks great. The art's fun. The characters are fun. You can still read it knowing absolutely nothing about any of these characters or Venus or except the thing about the Trojan War. And still just... it's a throwback comic, but it also still feels very fresh and fun. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's trying to be, I don't know, too old-fashioned. I guess it's about... I just like the idea, like you said, like they're on the forefront of something being like, this piece of crap company that does internet dating, that's not gonna go anywhere. But I guess at the time, you wouldn't necessarily have known that it was going to. It might have... There was a huge stigma against it, let's not forget, for a long time.
It's true. That's true.
And now it's where at least like 20% of long-term couples meet their partner.
Yeah, through the internet.
20%? That seems low.
At one time, it's probably even higher now.
Oh, okay.
It's the internet went way up on the graph, and church and work went way down for lots of obvious reasons.
Right. What if you met at internet church, though?
My cousin's a pastor of an internet church, so
See, there you go.
does it on MetaQuest. Does it on MetaQuest. What a jerk Goom is, by the way, when they find his extra special perfect mate. Using the floppy disk of the gods, this woman appears, and because she looks like him almost, he's disgusted. He's like, "Oh no, good." Let me quote this: "Good Lord," and then choking sounds.
Choke.
And then also all the women are like, "Ew!" I'm like, "Come on, man! Women gotta support women."
Yeah, go get it there,
What are we
princess.
doing? Also,
Princess of
Goom's
Colony
plan is
World.
terrible.
Yeah, it's a terrible plan. Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, I agree.
Just take over the earth if you want. Is it just because we're the ones who have online dating?
Well, I think he's just really into sexy Earth ladies. That's the problem. Like a neckbeard, from any race, any alien species. It's always the same. He's lusting after these supermodels at this ad agency instead of working on himself and trying to do better to attract somebody with similar interests and similar values and stuff. He's like, look at them titties, It's just weird. Go back home, Goom. Nobody needs you here.
Well, this is also kind of the problem, though, isn't
Boo.
it? Because Venus sets them up, and they do actually have similar interests, but
Right.
that interest is domination. And then she's like, all right, you two, off you go. And they're going to go take over the rest of the universe? What are we doing
why
here,
did they
Venus?
start here? Already here. Why are we leaving?
Well, what the fuck does Venus care? She's only the goddess of Earth shit.
She must care because at the beginning when they're like, hey, you're just sitting around moon gooning over this guy for the last 40 years. Well, look at that. Something's streaking toward the earth and going to take it out. Better go take care of it.
Well, it's going to take the earth out.
Cares. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but she doesn't care if they go somewhere else and conquer
Oh, sorry.
stuff. She's the god. She's like, I'm the goddess of Earth, love.
Fair.
The Skrulls have their own gods, and the Kree have their own gods and stuff. Listen, we can argue morally about whether this NIMBY not in my backyard move was appropriate for different reasons, but it's not her responsibility on some level.
Fair enough.
And it is a sweet ending. You mentioned the sweet ending where she takes Whitney back to Olympus to live out the rest of his days, which is kind of sad. But it's sweet. So
why is it sad? Because they lost all the time?
It's sad because the way that she worded it, no more, you belong with me on Olympus, Whitney, where you shall live out your final days in the arms of your eternal soulmate, which that's beautiful. Okay, that is beautiful. But it's kind of sad too. She has to sit there and I'd rather them be together than be apart. I'll just put it that way, but it's going to be sad.
But once he's on Olympus, there's all kinds of shit. Like, here is the feather of the Aarakocra, and it will give you 3 extra years or what the fuck. We're talking about gods in the Marvel Universe. That motherfucker living forever.
Okay, I'll take it.
But I bet he has to stay on Olympus.
But hold up, because that would have happened regardless of whatever age he goes to Olympus. It's sort of like when a familiar gets mad that a vampire doesn't turn them when they're young and then they get old, and it's like, because it was a blink of an eye for this immortal creature, and now they're old, they don't want to get turned anymore because they're old. If she had just brought him up there when he was young, he could have just lived there forever while he was like young and handsome. Because her rationale is like, oh, well, he'll get bitter as he withers away and I'll stay young and beautiful. Well, I bet he's not bitter now that the same thing happened and he missed out on 40 years with Venus, the goddess of love.
Again, I just feel like they're gods in the Marvel Universe. She's going to get Thor and Hercules to go on some weird fucking quest to go get some elixir of youth from Set. And Thor's got to hammer up, and Hercules is going to give the gift of battle, and they're going to bring it back so he can get youngatized.
Youngatized. All right, we're moving on then. If you guys are ready to go to the greatest gift,
Let's do it.
That's the gift of love. The greatest gift, written by Tom DeFalco, penciled by Dan Lawless, inked by Jeff Albrecht, lettered by Jack Morelli, and colored by Adam Galenta. And folks, get ready for a tale about Crusher Creel and Titania. So we're about to talk about in Pittsburgh, Crusher Creel, the absorbing man, is purchasing, yes, that's right, we teased at the beginning, a Millie the model doll for his wife at a collectible store when two thugs come in to rob the place. When the thugs run off, Crusher pays for the doll, but outside he runs into some cops who believe he is on a crime spree and demand that he get on the ground. As Crusher absorbs the properties of a brick wall, the police open fire. Meanwhile, in Cranberry Township, Titania grows bored waiting for Crusher to come home until she is astonished to see a news story showing Crusher being chased by the police. Back in town, Crusher is in a standoff with the police until they decide to toss a grenade at him. Unable to damage Crusher, he looks down in his hand to see the doll, now a burnt hunk of plastic. Enraged, Creel is about to unleash his fury on the cops until Titania arrives. The police then turn their attention to her, unleashing a barrage of bullets. Titania ducks behind a car with Crusher, and the two decide to make a break for it. Able to escape, they make their way back home and begin packing, because it's time to get the heck out of there. Crusher is upset his present for his wife was destroyed, but soon realizes that she appreciated the gift that he gave her, which was the best gift ever, bringing back a little excitement into their lives. And there you go. That is The Greatest Gift by Tom DeFalco.
It's just, listen, anytime you get a nice villain tale, and these specials tend to be a spot where you can do a villain tale that's really redeeming and fun, and you get to see you get to develop the characters a little bit. It's great to see these two living low, and then him going after the Millie the model doll. He's like, I'm paying this legit.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for real. Also, it's important to note, wow, 2 different Millie the model tie-ins in the same book, because Chilly Storm first appeared in Millie the Model comics in 1946, like number 3 or something. I looked it up the other day. So that's pretty neat too. It's everything. It's topsy-turvy in the most fun way. It's a humorous Bonnie and Clyde where nobody gets Tommy gunned.
True.
They don't Tommy gun anybody. They might get Tommy gun a little bit. It doesn't hurt them. I always love seeing these two together, and this was just no exception. It's also got that fun, ironic ending where he's like, I lost the doll, but I actually gave her exactly what she wanted in A Time on the Town.
That's right.
Also, he must have been shopping at Eames.
Shopping what?
At Eames.
Oh, that's comic book store.
Yeah, because it's super famous. People talk, my friends who are in the Pittsburgh area, creators love going there.
Am I making this up? I thought they referenced an actual comic book store in the comic.
So it says here,
Like,
it says being...
what?
So right at the beginning, the city of Pittsburgh is famous for a variety of reasons. Being the home of Dream World Collectibles isn't one of them. And I guess that's the name of the...
Dream World Collectibles, boo!
Yeah, that's the name of it.
I meant to look up if that was a real place? Store.
Let's find out. Dream World Collectibles.
Yeah, they're probably fine. I'm booing them for no reason.
That having been said, if you are in Pittsburgh and want to go to a comic book store, the one that Dean is referencing is indeed quite an excellent one.
Okay.
It's Eads.
Yeah. EIDES, they're super good. But obviously, if you need some comic books, Speeding Bullet Comics is the
There you go, Speeding Bullet Comics.
Our good friend Matthew Price, great friend of the show. Don't forget you can get sbcomics.com or hit him up on Facebook. They'll take care of what you need to. They don't have quite the golden age selection that you would find at Eads. I remember when I went there, he had X-Men #2 in super mint condition and Captain Marvel Adventures very early, number 15. He's like, oh, do you want to see any of these? I'm like, I can't afford to drop it.
Yeah, I'd be scared to touch it. My gosh. By the way, there is a Sports World Specialties in Pittsburgh, but no Dream World Collectibles.
Yeah, that's right.
They went out of business in '97. Crusher Creel. The whole incident with Crusher Creel, and they were like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, we're getting out. There's already the Heroes World debacle. The Marvel went to this. It's already 2 distributor things, and now Marvel's bankrupt. Just get out while the kid's good.
Get out. I was just looking up Dan Lawless. I wanted to confirm this because Mike's Amazing World of Comics puts this story as his 3rd to last story that he's ever penciled, which I'm confirming this because there is some serious... I just went to the web and looked him up. He's got a web page that's brilliant. Got Conan on the front. So maybe he went to Conan and was doing some Conan or something.
There's just so much more money if you're especially since the end of the speculator boom in the 90s. There's just so much more money if you can get work doing album covers, book covers, commercial art. It's just we'll see how that changes with AI and everything, but historically there's just more money in that kind of thing. For not necessarily easier work, but less grindy work. Because you're doing 30 pages a month and you can only do 1 page a day. You're doing a page every single day. You do one, you get a reputation. You can sell one thing for, I don't know, $10,000-$15,000, and it took you 10 days to do, 20 days to do. So that's what some of the guys who have gone into that have said. It's just less grindy.
I just think that this story was very relatable content just right off the bat to anybody who has a partner who is a collectibles fan.
Oh,
Like, to be, first of all, you're like, I gotta get the right Millie the Model doll. It's gotta be this one with a hat. It's gotta have this hat. I have learned so much about first generation G.I. Joes and what constitutes something being complete and not complete. And, well, this one won't work because it's missing this one tiny little plastic tab. They said it was complete, but it wasn't.
Oh, man.
And the idea that this will get destroyed it hit me like an arrow through the heart. As he said, it doesn't end up mattering. She thinks this is her present, is all the havoc it causes. And that's so sweet. It's such a sweet story. There's someone for everyone.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's tough to figure out what to get your significant other. And it sounds like Emily is talking from experience there, trying to make sure that everything is right and you don't already have it, which, my goodness, I don't know how you know if he's got something or not.
I get a list. I
That's
asked
right.
for a list to pick from.
I've heard of this.
It's a very long list. I've got lots of options. It's still
It doesn't get shorter
on it.
It doesn't get shorter.
No, it doesn't.
That's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. You do a great job. I always appreciate everything you do.
It was just supposed to be a...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get her lots of great presents, too.
Okay. All right. That's great. Yeah, I think my wife...
I'm listening. Okay, that's great. Anyhow.
Well, okay. Tell me, do you have a hard time figuring out what to get her sometimes?
Not generally.
Okay. So you're on top of things.
I spend time thinking about it. And going forward, I think this year we're trying to do more things as opposed to get each other more stuff. Although she can always get me stuff. I'm still into stuff. But she says there's enough stuff for now.
Yeah. Well,
I'm still getting myself stuff. It's not getting her anything.
Brilliant. Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
Right, treat yourself. Parks and Rec. Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Which, if you're not
days away,
if you weren't thinking about it, you'd think that was a milk holiday or something.
Valentine's.
Oh, it's Valentine's
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. Don't give Big Milk any ideas.
Big Milk.
So go on though. You were still talking about what you thought about this.
Always nice to see, as a Pittsburgh area native, always nice to see Pittsburgh represented just about anywhere. And it's weird how it's not like it's like some podunk town, but there's always this little thrill of like, oh, they reference this neighborhood that you actually know that's a real neighborhood. Like, oh, she's in Squirrel Hill or whatever. It wasn't Squirrel Hill, it was Cranberry Township. Squirrel Hill is a different neighborhood of Pittsburgh, for those of you not from the city of Champions.
Not even say anything. Anything.
I say while I sit next to the guy from Kansas City.
Yeah, I think he owns these rights right now. He owns the rights.
I think at the moment he can borrow it for a while.
Emily, you're from Pittsburgh. Have you ever seen the cops throw a grenade in the middle of town? Because that happens in this comic.
No, I can't say that I have.
But would it be shocking if they did at this point?
I was thinking about that. Are we going to see news stories sometime soon? This is, again, the Marvel Universe. They've got to deal with people like Crusher Creel running around and what else are you going to do but give the cops grenades,
They're lucky,
I guess.
too, because in the new universe, they're zapped, right?
Right.
Lucky you fucking exist, 616.
But yeah, this is a story about appreciating the little things, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice. It's nice. It's about a a bad couple having a healthy relationship. A bad couple has a good relationship. And that's fun.
All right. You guys ready to move on to our last story?
It's Emily's favorite, so yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. She couldn't
right.
stop raving about it.
This is my shipwreck, my favorite G.I. Joe.
Slim and Red. All right. Here we go. The Way, written by Tom.
Fastball.
Written by Tom DeFalco. Art by Kyle Hotz. And boy, if I don't get this guy's name right, I might hear it again. Lettered by John Costanza. All right, and then colored by Kevin Tinsley. Did not call him Joe or Jim Costanza. John Costanza. I got it right this time.
The big JC.
That's right.
Maybe not the big. Maybe a big JC.
A big JC. At the Xavier Institute, Jubilee brings Jean Grey a package that was just dropped off. A Valentine's gift for Jean, which ends up being a cactus. She smiles as she recalls the time her and Scott were pulled into the future to raise a young Nathan Dayspring, crossing a vast desert and being attacked by a gang of raiders. As they fight, Jean is hit in the head and Scott is hit in his legs. A raider grabs Nathan, threatening to kill him. However, Nathan savagely bites the raider's arm, giving Cyclops the opening to hit him with an optic blast. As the raiders run off with all their supplies, Nathan is petrified they will not be able to survive the desert, but Scott instills in him hope, showing him a cactus that has survived in the desert, so shall they. The trio continues for days until thirst and weakness begin to stop their progress. As Jean is about to give up, Scott will not leave her side, and as all hope looks lost, he sees another cactus. Inspired, Scott spurs on his wife, begging her to find strength through love to continue on just a bit further. They somehow can continue drawing off of that love for each other to finally reach their salvation at a large river.
Oh, God.
Back in the
I don't know why I'm on it. It's perfectly fine.
Back in the present, Scott arrives at home to find Jean elated to see him and takes comfort in knowing she received her present. All right, there you go. Little cacti hanging out in the desert.
Not even Cactus Jack.
Oh, not even Cactus Jack. Well, I guess we got to start with you, Emily, because you have to explain what the problem is here. Why you
How long you got?
This is not really that big a thing.
It's a big thing.
I'm not a big fan of Cyclops, but
well, I don't like Cyclops either.
I like to not like Cyclops. I want to make that clear.
Okay.
I do have a much bigger issue with Jean Grey, and this isn't about the Phoenix or Dark Phoenix. This is just about when she's being Jean Grey. And Dean will always tell me how wrong I am about this, and actually she's great and all this. But every time I ever see her, she's getting bonked in the head and goes, oh, and is useless. Now, to be fair, about 95% of that is represented from the X-Men, the animated series, where that did seem to be all she did, is use her powers a little and then collapse. Yep. But so I was expecting a little something different here, and then she still gets bonked on the head and is...
Do you remember that time on the cartoon when she fucking loans Wolverine when he's like, hey, Jeannie, you want me to help you nail this up? I always liked using my hands. She's like, I like using my mind. And she like puts like 40 nails in the thing at once. Just Wolverine is like dead. This is the only thing that his healing factor can't stop.
I think her best moment, that is genuinely a like top 3 one too, but my favorite is in the Christmas episode when she's trying to cook Christmas dinner, and then Gambit also wants to cook Christmas dinner.
And Gambit has a chef hat on.
Gambit has a chef hat on. Obviously, he is the winner of this fight. And she's literally about to murder him if this fight continues, so... She does have that, at least. I will give Jean Grey that.
Okay.
As far as this comic goes, I know this is a stupid thing to fixate on, but, and once again, it gives us this narrative framework where her getting this cactus as a delivery allows her to tell the story to Jubilee. It gives us the framing of the story.
Oh, yeah.
But I just assume the reason she got it through a delivery is like Scott's away on an important mission and can't just give it to her himself. So he's ordered this for her.
He's going to give it to her himself later.
Hello.
He's going to be like, there is a giant web-shaped heart in here.
A platter of burgers with your name on it.
I have commissioned Peter Parker to build us a web bed.
But then at the end, he shows up. You're like, you couldn't go to Whole Foods and buy a cactus and then bring it home with you? You couldn't stop.
Why Whole Foods?
I don't know. I just picked a place that sells little cactuses. Little
cacti.
I know. Cactuses is cuter.
Okay.
I don't know. Pick any store. Grocery stores. They're in New York. Go to a bodega.
They sell cacti at bodegas?
Some of them sell plants, yeah.
Fuck.
A lot of the ones on the corner of the streets in New York will have lots of flowers and plants for sale outside.
I guess that's the difference between Philly bodegas and New York City bodegas.
Oh yeah,
it's
there's
like,
not a flower inside of the
When I went to Philly bodegas, they got no cacti. They have pretzels though, and they're delicious.
It's because they have the flower market. They have all the flowers in one place.
That's fair.
City.
You're right.
That's a Philly joke for you. We got the Pittsburgh jokes, the Philly jokes.
Keep those Pennsylvania jokes coming. Jesus Christ, let's get a Harrisburg one in next.
Harrisburg is the joke, but
oh my fucking God! You went to Penn State. You know about State College.
I completed the trifecta there with Pennsylvania jokes. So now we can move on to this story about him sending a cactus 5 minutes before he's gonna get home anyway.
I always thought it was cool that there was this tale about how they got to raise Scott got to raise his son with Jean's help.
But it's Jean's sort of kid.
Yeah, Jean's sort of kid. In the future, they weren't separated by all this. What
a terrible honeymoon, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're like, hey, let's go on our honeymoon, and you get whisked away to literally a post-apocalyptic future. Yeah. Where apocalypse runs things so that you can raise your kid. So you can raise your kid? That sounds terrible. Even if you liked kids and liked your kids, that's not what a honeymoon's for.
Right. Yeah, dang. Yeah, it's to get away. And you did not get away.
Most people raise their kids later. Or at least not during the honeymoon.
The smallest gifts count.
I think this was a really good special. I don't think any of them suck. I think this is probably the worst of the bunch. I want to say that Cyclops, tactical leader of the X-Men, battleground genius,
supposedly
super quick, super on the uptake, knows the right move at any time, is marching these motherfuckers through the desert during the day.
Thank you.
The first thing that you learn about desert survival for lots of reasons is you walk at night. Part of it is because predators are active at night. You don't want to be just sleeping. All this fucking desert fox comes up on you and eats you. Part of it is it's just literally this is the best time because the sun, this will be the coolest it is. And deserts, a thing that people forget about deserts, they get really cold at night. So, it might be dangerous to just huddle up and go to sleep if it's 29 degrees, which isn't uncommon for American southwestern deserts to get. So I don't know what the fuck Cyclops was thinking. We just marched to the fucking, hey guys, let's get started early, 6 a.m. I want to be at our absolute worst come noon with the sun, when it's hottest and highest. That's what I'm here for.
How do you get...
He's just lucky that it's... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Jean Grey's just lucky that it's Jubilee there to see her get the cactus and tell the story to, because if she had told it to say, like, Storm, sort of been like, I'm sorry, he did what?
Well, I'm sorry, Storm doesn't count, because Storm would have just been like, well, let's make some rain. He's got to be like Beast or Wolverine. He can't be Storm.
I just meant she knows the desert.
Oh, yeah, for sure, but she also has this... Can you just imagine if Storm's like, you couldn't survive in the desert, why don't you just make some rain? You're like, you fucking Storm, I can't make rain. Imagine if Storm said that to Cypher, and his he can read any language. And this is honestly, in real life, what a cool fucking thing to do. You can read and understand and speak any language. Alien languages, our languages, dialects, sub-languages. And she's like, why didn't you just make it rain, Cypher? I don't know, I was reading this fucking Scrollian phone book. Poor guy. Can you imagine her saying that to most people?
Oh, are you saying can't.
You can make it rain?
You can't make it rain?
You don't? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm gonna fly off. Oh, you can't fly either. Well, I'm a little parched, so I can't help you because I've been making it rain in the desert all day.
Oh man,
no, Storm wouldn't be very polite. Actually, that's the one thing is Storm is very. We're a little off track or whatever, but who cares? This is fun.
Oh yeah.
But Storm is like very proud, but she's hardly ever rude. And when she is rude, the situation calls for rude.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But she's definitely very sure of herself and doesn't mind that, but never in such a way where you're like, man, Storm's a fucking bitch to me. She's usually, if you're respectful, she's respectful. You gotta love that.
That's right.
So she would actually never be like, oh, you couldn't make it rain. But Jubilee would absolutely be like, oh, you can't make shitty firecrackers. Oh, you know, your 4th of July, you got to go buy firecrackers. I just make them. But, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You just have to respect the Jubilees of this world because there are so few things in nerdy culture that you can get everybody to bond on, and dunking on Jubilee is one of those things.
Yeah, but Jubilee does have her fans, and and good for them. And also, it's important to note that she's an Asian American woman in comic books, and it's easy to forget that. I liked this story fine. It was pretty run of the mill. I also wish that, again, I like the plot and I like the feelings you get. But when they're about to die, they want for like 7 more days. It should have just been like 3 or 4 more hills.
That's
and then I could have bought it, but like 6 days later, I'm like, you were already just about to die a few days ago. You weren't change anything. You're still walking during the day.
You don't understand. Their love is like this cactus. I don't know if they've told you yet.
Their love is like when Cactus Jack becomes Dude Love. I've got it.
That's perfect.
And you know what? And they do it for all mankind.
No. Like this.
That was your dunking on all the Pennsylvania streets. You completed the trifecta.
You're right. This one's for Mick.
All right. So as far as, unless you guys have any other things to say about this final one, I'll get your thoughts on the overall. What was your favorite stories again? You guys kind of already talked about them or said them, but I want to get another poll here. Emily, what was your favorite one?
Oh, the Venus
okay.
one, absolutely.
All right. Dean?
Wow, it's a toss up, but I think the Venus one is my favorite, and I think it's just really, really good at what it does. Although I think it's definitely my favorite. I think the Daredevil one might be better, but this one's my favorite.
Okay, I'm absolutely landing with Crusher Creel and his saga.
I had a hard time not picking that one too. It's so fun.
It's so sweet. It's just everything you want out of a story and a special like this.
There's just something very fun, like I said earlier too, about watching villains show you that there's a reason to care. They have the sympathetic side. It's what in Dungeons and Dragons. One of the things that people have to learn, and I read this in the book of villains, which teaches you how to create villains. They're like, detect alignment can be bad because, you might walk up and cast that on somebody who's just at a bar and they're a chaotic evil, but what the fuck are they doing right now? You're just gonna, are they, they're chaotic evil, but are you any better if you just go bash them in the head while they're eating?
Everyone else in this tavern is going to be like, whoa, bro.
Right. Unless everybody already knows who they are, like Mussolini or some shit, then it's fine. But otherwise, it's like that. And I felt this way similar here, where it's like, who cares if they're evil? They have a life and do things outside of that. And it's neat to see that.
All right. Well,
so, it's hard not to pick it, but I got to go with Venus. So you lose. This one is Venus.
All right.
It's one of the advantages of being a couple, too. We have 2 votes, but
I'm calling Mindy right now.
All right, see which one.
All right. She would probably quote some kind of Law and Order thing, and I'd be out anyway. So don't worry about it. All right. Well, let's talk about.
The winner of this poll is Mariska Haggerty. Who knew? I did not see that coming.
How did that happen?
So the best character of all time in the Marvel Universe, Detective Munch. Well, he wound up a lot of places. He was in a lot of things. So
yes, he was. Homicide, Life on the Street.
He's in X-Men and X-Files.
Yes. Perfect. All right. let's go ahead and get into plugs here. This has been a fun Valentine's Day celebration. Emily, we're going to start with you here, but you definitely have some older stuff on the Unspoken Decade, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I was paid a very nice compliment last week when Dean said that my Mr. Robot article was the best one on the internet.
Mr. Hero.
Mr. Hero, Jesus.
Sorry.
Also wrote one about Magnus Robot Fighter that I was thinking about at the same time. So
which I think they read because they did. Y'all did a thing on issue number 1, so they read your thing.
That's right. And we plugged it too.
Yeah. Steel Nation.
Great comic. Loved it.
Great article too.
Bill and Ted, the Bill and Ted comic. Punisher 2099.
Beautiful.
All kinds of fun stuff on there.
All right. So just go over to the Unspoken Decade and type in, I assume we could just type in Emily Scott, find your articles.
Yeah.
Indeed, you can.
All right. Good deal. All right, Dean, what else is going on in the Unspoken Decade?
It's 10 years, and so we'll be doing some celebration stuff soon. Simi fans writing a lot of articles still. I'm going to try and get a couple articles out this year. We're still doing these podcasts, and I think we're over like 11,000 likes and 16 or 17,000 followers of the Facebook page. So the Facebook page stays busy. We stay busy with other things, and we appreciate every one of you. TheUnspokenDecade.com, and just look for us on Facebook. Eventually, I'll get this Blue Sky going, but I just update it like once a month now. So you should follow it. I know you're supposed to update these things more, but goddamn, what an event when it is updated. You'll be there.
What's this? I saw something pop up today. You hanging out with Matthew Price? Guys having a conversation, gets written. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, so Matthew Price does word balloons, and every now and then I get to guest on it. It's pretty nice. If you look up, it's called Word Balloons, and it's on his Substack. But if you look up Matthew Price Word Balloons on Google, because I can't remember the exact URL, you'll find it. Hey, you can always call Speeding Bullet Comics in Norman, Oklahoma. They'll have all that information for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do every now and then I get to do something. We read Generation X #1. We're going to read Extreme X-Men #1 and have a little back and forth about that. I read it. I don't get why it would be considered good. So,
okay. That should be fun.
It's fine, but things just happen.
Right here on the W2M network, W2Mnet.com, you can hear this show on the Source Material Comics feed. Check that out. Boy, there's so many people. It's 3 different layers of where the hell my podcast is at. But either way, if you're listening to it right now, you should be able to find a previous episode. Source Material, where me and my good buddy Mark Radlich currently going through some Batman comics, specifically ones focused on Jim Gordon and the GCPD. So Gordon's Law, I think, just aired not too long ago. So if you would like to hear some stories about Jim Gordon and his days as commissioner, you should be able to find that pretty easily. With that being said, we are getting out of here. Happy Valentine's Day to one and all. We really hope that you find some...
Happy Valentine's Day, sweetie.
Happy Valentine's Day.
There you go. Happy Valentine's Day to my wife, who will never listen to this, but she's right here.
Happy Valentine's Day today.
Yes, that's right. That's right. We're out of here. That's Emily Scott. Dean Compton's right there. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Unspoken Issues is part of the UnspokenDecade.com, the home for 90s comics, blogs, and podcasts. Unspoken Issues also has a Facebook group you can join if you are interested. Just search the Unspoken Issues podcast and request to join. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.